Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're jumping back into Judgment Day with the Legion of X issue 6 tie-in that finally lets us know what happened between Legion versus Uranos. Because for a while all we knew was what went up didn't come down. So for this one we're going to get into that as well as talk about the judgment that Legion was given by the progenitor. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so for this one, we start off with a conversation between Legion and the progenitor, where at this point the progenitors come to give his judgment. So through the course of this conversation, we get a number of flashbacks that weave in and out of the previous issues that we've already seen, from X-Men Red issue 5 all the way through Judgment Day issue 4, but this time by way of us following Legion. But what's interesting in this conversation, when the progenitor arrives here, he asks Legion how would he choose to be judged? As a child, godlike child, universe destroyer, universe creator, and in response, Legion tells the progenitor to instead help him settle an argument that he's having with himself. Which from here takes us back to the arrival of Uranos on Arakko. And as Legion gets into this, he's very clear that there's no build-up here. This isn't a suspenseful story. Uranos arrived like we'd seen with his instruments of destruction, with the intention of turning Mars back into a dirt-red planet, and for the most part, he was successful. Countless people died, and in hindsight, with the battle of Uranos versus Arakko, Uranos won. So to be clear, Legion expresses that he's not here to change that narrative in any kind of way. But when this starts, we go back to the countdown at the Great Ring, when we had seen Iska the Unbeaten switch sides, and it's here where we find that the way the Nightcrawler had gotten over on her was by challenging her to combat, with the rules of either fight or yield, but before they engaged, he told her it's a custom of his people to shake hands first, which is how he then teleported her over the water and then yielded in midair, leaving Iska to free fall as the winner that she truly is. But it's here as Iska falls from one uncomfortable win to another, where we then jump over to Legion, just minutes after the arrival of Uranos. And it's here where Legion jumps in to help out and defend the Araki people from the armory of Uranos, when he admits that with seeing the diverse machines and inventions that were deployed out here, though they were horrific with what they were designed to do, Legion immediately recognized and took notice that these drones, and in some cases liquid machines, they had been crafted and utilized by someone who operates beyond normal understanding, whose power likely can't be expressed or measured by regular means or even in normal words. So for Legion, he admits that this made him eager to meet the person who had brought all of this to Arakko, because the showcase of the complexity of this armory, it reminded Legion of his own power, which also very much reaches into the unimaginable and unexplainable. So for Legion, this is what causes him to head directly to Uranos. And Legion also admits that he had hoped that with doing this, that perhaps this distraction would have also stopped the armory from attacking Arakko. But much like we had seen, that definitely was not the case, because the armory of Uranos isn't dependent on his immediate attention or focus, which is something that we knew because we've seen his armory used either while he was locked in the exclusion or even at other points used directly against him. But of course for Legion, on first impressions, he had no way of knowing this. But also at this time, with Legion confronting Uranos, and again using this method to buy time, with hopes of also distracting Uranos, with Legion seeing Uranos as the puppeteer of this armory. But also at this time, he had been boosting Nightcrawler's power, so that Nightcrawler could bamf to as many people as possible and get them out of there. But then it's here where we find that back up in the sky, between Legion and Uranos, the two of them dueled in a psychic battle that on the outside looking in was just like the two of them staring at each other. But in this moment that only lasted for 10 actual seconds, Legion and Uranos battled through trillions of different possible matches. Whether it was raw power versus power, they competed with music, they had a dance battle. These guys competed throughout trillions of variables that in their minds stretched throughout the course of millennia, which then stretched into eons. But again, with this actually lasting over the course of 10 real seconds, this led Legion and Uranos to the realization that the two of them were evenly matched. And it's definitely better that it played out this way than the two of them bringing these ideas into reality, because ultimately they would have undone each other, which Uranos quickly expresses that he's not worried about. And we'll soon talk about why as he shifts the focus of this conversation. But also at this time, Legion admits that he's slightly distracted, because aside from him helping Nightcrawler in boosting his power a bit, he's also just becoming aware that Nightcrawler's been pulling the refugees from Port Prometheus to the Altar, which is a pocket dimension within Legion's mind that was meant to be a healing garden. But now with it being flooded with fear and rage and trauma, Legion notices that. and it's not like it's completely jarring, but it does take some of his attention. But between him and Uranos, with them noticing their stalemate, Uranos just takes advantage of Legion's uncertainties and insecurities, because with them acknowledging that if they bring everything from their psychic battle into reality and actually do this, Uranos tells Legion that he'll be losing a lot more than he realizes, because at this point for Legion, he has a lot more to lose than he did before, because now so many people are counting on him, and he's gained respect from others who kind of looked at him with a side eye before, but now they need Legion. But also, if they do this dance and undo everything, Legion won't have the opportunity to step into that leadership role and essentially become a better version of his own father. And with Uranos saying this, he knows what he's doing. He's found the weak spot and he's pushing hard. Because he tells Legion, we can do this, and you can just die for the greater good and sacrifice your life for your father's people, just how they are right now, before he even had the opportunity to sculpt them into something better. And Uranos tells Legion that in more ways than one that he's a father himself. And from that perspective, he tells Legion that he understands that Legion is going to be nothing more than a disappointment, much like the others who Uranos would consider his sons. And as soon as he says that, Legion is heated, and he's ready to do this battle that'll kill the both of them, only for him to find out that he himself has fallen for the distraction, instead of him having Uranos be the one who's distracted. And this put Legion in the position to where Uranos immediately took advantage, and he started to break down Legion atom by atom. And the crazy thing is, for Legion, the only thing that he could think of in this moment was him wishing that his dad was here to see this. But at a moment's notice, he's then snatched up by Sean Cassidy, who usually we know as Banshee, who recently was possessed by the spirit of variance after making a deal with Mother Righteous, to where now he goes by the name of Vox Ignis. And anytime we see him, we see dialogue from Sean Cassidy and the spirit of variance as well. But with him showing up here and snatching up Legion, this isn't completely out of the blue, because in the previous issue of Legion of X, we had seen Mother Righteous tell Vox Ignis to find Legion and stop him from doing anything rash, which is what led directly into this moment. But with this happening, this led to a conversation between Vox Ignis and Legion, to where they let Legion know that dying today is the wrong decision, because there's too many people counting on him. And it's here we find that also while Legion was fighting Uranos, Uranos had sent an attack through the astral plane to the altar, which is the pocket dimension in Legion's mind. So with hearing this, Legion, he goes in and he handles it. And he admits that in this moment it gave him a taste of handling leadership and possibly being a better version of his father. But while Legion was handling this here, the attack on Uraco continued, with Uranos returning to the Great Ring, and we know how that went. And we come to find out that with Legion defending the altar, this had extended past the hour of Uranos, and when Legion got back to the Great Ring, at this point we're in Judgment Day issue 4, with Tony coming to get Magneto and Storm to face Uranos, who has been unleashed again. And with coming here and seeing this, Legion's upset, and he tells Magneto that he wants to go with them. But when Magneto says no, Legion believes that Magneto thinks that he's just gonna mess it up. But instead, Magneto lets him know that that's not the case at all. And Magneto tells Legion when he first came to Krakoa, Legion said that he didn't trust him. And Magneto tells him when he heard that at the time, he was not offended, because trust is seated in example and watered by time. And he tells Legion that in this moment, they really don't have the luxury of either one. But really the reason why Magneto wants Legion to stay here is to defend this entire planet and live doing it. Because if everyone dies, what's the point of fighting at all? And it's here where Magneto tells Legion that he trusts him to do that, to defend this entire planet and live. And it's right here just before Magneto leaves with Storm and Iron Man, where he tells Legion to hold the line, boy. And it's from here where Legion goes off, and he single-handedly becomes the man that Richard Rider wishes he was. I'm just playing. But from here, he single-handedly gets the job done. And really it's from here where we find the argument that Legion has been having with himself. Because when he thinks back on how these events have played out, he believes that had he chose differently, he would have died and Magneto would have lived. Because if he hadn't left with Vox Ignis and he had continued to fight Uranos, he would have been undone, and pretty much the altar as well, and everyone in it. But this puts Legion in a place of mourning Magneto's death while also envying the hero's death that could have been himself. And Legion tells a progenitor that he's just wondering, is the world a better place with him alive and Magneto dead? And he looks to the progenitor and he asks, did he do the right thing? And it's in this moment where the progenitor responds to Legion with a thumbs up, which for Legion didn't really make him feel better, not even in the slightest, because he knows that this god will never understand what it's like to experience these choices and have to live with them. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below so we can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.